Good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of the afternoon edition. And to all Nigerian workers, I say happy Workers' Day, or should I call it happy Labor Day, because so much happened between yesterday and this morning, and many Nigerian workers, I know most especially those who are resident here in Abuja, will definitely be finding their way down to Eagle Square, where they will carry out their remembrance of this particular day. But with the increment, the slight increment in salary which was announced yesterday, so many workers are jubilating, and some are still questioning, is this the new minimum wage, or is just a normal salary increment, or a kind of leveling all the civil servants in Nigeria to have at least an appreciable 25% or 20% to 35% increment? So these are some of the questions. But then the Nigerian Labour Congress today is gathering all their momentum to see that they all get to the center where they can all appreciate this particular day of putting in the work and getting the result. But there is so much to discuss on this day. But let me take you through this snippet. Today, May 21st, 2024, marks a special day for workers in Nigeria. It's Workers' Day, a celebration of the contributions and hard work of the Nigerian workforce. As we commemorate this day, let's take a closer look at the current state of salaries in Nigeria and the long-awaited topic of salary increment. The reality is that many Nigerian workers are struggling to make ends meet, and the cost of living continues to rise, and salaries have not kept the pace. And in fact, according to a recent statistics, the average monthly salary in Nigeria is around 50,000 naira. That's if you take a very good look at it in terms of the medium at this particular point in time, that's approximately $130. This is barely enough to cover the basic needs of a small family, let alone enjoy any comfort or save for the future. The federal government has approved an increment of between 25% and 35% in salary increase for civil servants on the remaining 6 consolidated salary structures. A statement signed by the head of press, National Salary Income and Wages Commission, in person Mr. Emmanuel Unjoku, said the increase take effect from 1st January 2024. So definitely you are going to receive your salary in arrears. And the federal government has also approved increases in pension of between 20% and 28% for pensioners on the defined benefit scheme, that's the DBS, in respect to the above mentioned 6 consolidated salary structures with effect from 1st January 2024. So it's no wonder that Nigerian workers were eagerly awaiting salary increment with the rising cost of living. It's becoming increasingly difficult for workers to support themselves and their families. The Nigerian Labour Congress has been advocating for a new minimum wage of over 100,000 naira and per month, which would be a significant increase from the current minimum wage of 30,000 naira. And so, what is the impact of salary increment? How will this change the activities of civil servant, be it the domestic or the external activity? So, what is the impact of salary increment on Nigerian workers and the economy as a whole? For starters, it would mean a significant improvement in the standard of living for many workers, and they would be able to afford basic necessities like food, housing and healthcare without struggling. Additional salary increment would likely lead to increase in productivity and motivation amongst workers, as they would feel more valued and appreciated for their contribution. Just yesterday we had a conversation with pharmacist Ibrahim Ahmed Umar from Kano State, where we were discussing the increasing cost of drugs in Nigeria, and I was able to dissect this from the issue of forex, from the issue of unavailability of funds, from the issue of not having sufficient pharmacists in terms of drug production in the country. These are major effects also causing the rise of medicals in the country. But then today we are going to focus on this Workers' Day. Are the workers actually benefiting from the work they've put in? Will this salary alignment change their perception on how they carry out their work and their fight to see that yes, there is a new national salary minimum wage? So these are the issues we are going to discuss, and then we'll go on a very short break, and when we return, we start up with the conversation with a well-known person that has cut across this particular sector. He has seen how the activities of civil servants are. He has seen what's the impact of the economy on the private sector, and he has is also seeing the impact also mainly on our educational system and our health system, on how this is actually having a major impact to the nation. So we take this break, and when we return, we start up with the conversation. Welcome back from that short break, and just before the break, I did mention that there are key issues with respect to how we can discuss this particular Workers' Day, and these key issues are issues that definitely concerns workers. If you are in Abuja, and I just rightly informed you that you see many of the workers are heading towards the Eagle Square for them to have this particular day well celebrated. And I also got the information that the joint union of the FCT also will also be having a kind of gathering today, party to celebrate this particular Workers' Day. But we've not heard so much with respect to this salary realignment for the workers. We don't know, or maybe they are still confused if it is salary increment or the minimum wage. But then we have Fowobi Desmond Olaiwaju here to discuss that with us. Good afternoon, Mr. Fowobi.
Good afternoon, Issa, and good afternoon, Nigerians that are watching us right now. I'm happy to be in the studio and to be putting in my voice to this Workers' Day discussion.
That's very beautiful, because this is my first time I think I'm seeing you putting on the suit, or probably maybe the effect of this 35% or 20% has really started impacting in you.
No, I was actually trying to promote our culture and tradition
by putting on suit.
Putting on local wears, like a kaftan is our own suits. Okay. But I decided to give it to the Western world by appearing in this suit. But believe me and trust me, I prefer to be on my kaftan.
Okay, that's a very good one. But let us come back to this particular issue. Today, the Nigerian Workers' Day. How do you feel for the Nigerian workers in general? And do you really think they've actually seen their impact in the society?
First of all, I would like to celebrate and commemorate this special day with all workers across the world, because today is an International Workers' Day that Nigeria also signed a treaty to, and by the virtue of that, you have some celebrations and some gathering going on for a day like this to reflect on what you've done, to reflect on what you can do, to reflect on what you can amend to actually contribute better to the working or the employers that have given you a job. Having said that, I like to say that today, being a Workers' Day, it's a day for national reflection as per the workforce. You know, the engine room of a nation is the production. You know, in terms of production, you know, the people who are saddled with the primary processes of production are the most important. You know, while we have the executives, we have the legislature. I'm not talking about the workings of a nation or a system of government. The most important aspect of our life is the workforce, which is the civil service, the civil servants. They are the most important because they bring what they call stability and direction to policies and implementation. And if your workforce are efficient and effective, you end up having an efficient government and efficient country in terms of results. When your workforce are inefficient, you end up having an inefficient country and results. And that is why the workforce is the most important element of every production, of every moving country. And I would expect that we need to look deeply. And today, I might differ in so many areas with the federal government, because right now I think, you know, it is only insane to continue to do things the old way and expect to get a new result. Normally, I wouldn't want to join issues or talk about this Workers' Day if we don't go to the rudiment, we don't go to the basis, the elementary, to look at, first of all, are we getting it right in this part of the world? What do we need to do or put in place to actually optimize the workforce of Nigeria to deliver the best to the country? That is the first thing we should be talking about. That is the first thing we should be talking about. And today, the essence of today is to look at the concerns, all the issues that concerns workforce in Nigeria, and see how we can improve as one entity, both the government, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. We need to come together to look at the workforce. Are we getting it right? I tell you sincerely, Issa, we are not there yet. And until we understand the importance of this workforce and give it the necessary energy and motivation, therefore we will not go anywhere.
So are you saying that this disintegration, not we seem to be disconnected in terms of our workforce, because the essence of work is for you to work as a team, or every individual working independently, and by the end of the day their aim is to achieve one goal, just like you said, they help to drive the policy of the government. So invariably, with what you've said just now, does it mean that they've actually not been working as a team, irrespective of the ministry you are, or the department, or the agency? They are not working, they are working independent, be it the judiciary, be it the executive, be it the legislators, be it the Nigerian civil servant. They are not working together.
Sir, thank you, sir, so much for this question. It is not just about not working as a team. That is not the essence of this conversation or the point I'm trying to establish.
Okay.
What I'm trying to establish here is the fact that those you have engaged or employed in different ministries, do they have a better understanding of why they are there? That is one. Then number two, what is the envisaged vision of that ministry? Are they working in tandem with the vision and the mission and objectives of that ministry or parasasta? Those are the key issue. You find out that in Nigeria, people are working for survival. If we are still at that level as a country, as a nation, as a ministry, as parasastas, then we are not ready yet. It's a question of, are we working for ourselves as a country, or we are still working, borrowing models, because we need to employ people. We need to just have a system. First of all, how strong is our institution? The ministries, what are the deliverables? What are they supposed to deliver to Nigerians? What is the essence of the work they are doing? What is it meant to achieve? Because it is easy in private sector. Private sector have a clear vision. They have a clear objective and goal they want to achieve. When you go to public service, it is a different ball game. In private sector, you see that they put in their energy. There is a monitoring team that monitors to ensure that each worker that is being paid delivers the KPIs. The key performance index is currently and consistently checked on. But in service, in public service, in the civil service, I don't see anybody that is interested in checking at the end of every month what is the deliverables, what is the achievement of the ministry. Let me tell you sincerely, the reason why we still go front and back with salaries, the reason why government is still persuaded, motivated to increase salary, is because even the government are not satisfied with the performance of their work employee. You can only increase the salary of your employee when you are so satisfied with the deliverables, with what is performance. And that is disconnect. That is what we are talking about. And it's very, very it's going to affect us. It is dangerous for us as a country. It is not healthy for our development that as a country we pay salary to workers, and yet we don't monitor, we don't even know what they are working. Let me tell you, when you go to ministries, it's like a normal a social gathering. Is it supposed to be so? No. So something is wrong somewhere. It is not that these people do not have the qualification. It's not because they do not have the interest to give in their best. But the question is, what is the vision? Who is the driver? And what are the goals that is set every month to achieve? And that is where we need to look back, to go back to drawing board as a country, as the Civil Service Commission, as Nigeria employee, Nigeria government. We need to go back to drawing board to understand where are we presently. We need to tell ourselves the truth. I can tell you categorically as an observer that the civil service is not delivering its best presently due to so many issues, and part of it is what we're going to discuss now, and that is as regards salaries and the rest of it. But before that, they are not developing because of we cry because there is not enough money in the coffer of government. There have not been consistent training in work training. That is also one thing that we need, and orientation. There needs to be a program for workers to actually go back, take them back to why they were employed, what they are working on, and how they can improve on it. You can't just bring people, resume work 8 o'clock, close 4 p.m. every day, and not understanding why they are there. Because if the ministries are working, if government workers, employees, they are working, Nigeria will be close to perfect country.
You've stated so much, and then you've painted a beautiful but bad picture, if I will add that to it, because you've said it, that despite the fact that they don't have the best Nigerian civil servants don't have the best in terms of salary, in terms of welfare, but then still we've not actually gotten to where we ought to have been. But if you look at what we have now, the numbers of civil servants in the country, you discover that despite that amount, we still don't have much, because Nigeria is a very huge space to govern, and there are so many activities. If you go to some part of the country, you will ask yourself, do we even have any government representative in those places? We don't. So when you look at the numbers we are having on ground now, and then you also look at the demotivating salary structure, do you expect them to put much beyond what they are putting now?
I expect much from the civil servants. I expect more from the government. We need to put this discussion into perspective for those who are listening to us, to understand where we are coming from and the point we are trying to achieve in this studio. This is the point. You see, Nigeria are close to perfect policies. These ministries you see, first of all, explain to people. People need to understand that each ministry you see did not born out of the urgency to give people job. No, they are born out of vacuums so that they can fill those loopholes. Every ministry you see, whether Ministry of Agriculture, Education, they are so much more to give to the community. They have so much more to contribute to the development of a country. And that was why they were enacted in the first place. There are serious vacuums in the society, and that were the reasons why these ministries were enacted and established. Now the question is, the purpose of which these ministries were established, are they lived up to? Those are the questions. Have you been to any particular ministry in this country? Which sector are you going to go to in this country today and you'll be satisfied? Is it the health sector? Is it the civil service? Is it the policing? Is it the military? Is it the workers? Every sector in this country, when you walk into government office, sometimes you live there in frustration. Why are they so? Because people have deviated from the reason why those offices were established in the first instance. But that is the point we are trying to say in this studio. That is not about increment of salary. It's not about trying to motivate lie or trying to manage wrong. It's about trying to uproot the inefficiencies in government. How the best way to uproot or uplift inefficiencies in government is to make the vision clear and simple.
But we've seen in the past, I remember during the time of Raji Fashola in Lagos State, there are so many KPIs and he was able to achieve them. There are so many KPIs, key performance indices, that he took note of before he became governor. And before he left, he was able to do so much with respect to looking at the strength, weakness, and then taking the necessary analysis. Now, if you come to some ministries, for instance, if you look at the Ministry of Digital ICT, Digital Economy, yes. During the time of Pantami, that's one of the best ministry, not just in Nigeria, even in Africa.
Because of the involvement of Nigerians.
Apart from that, there's something I want us to drive on here. Now, should we be blaming the civil servant in a situation whereby we all know how some of these ministers are appointed into offices and they are political appointees and they come up with their own ideology, and this ideology is what they pour down to the civil servant, and it's difficult for the civil servant to say no. At times it's difficult. If you say you want to stand and fight with the head of your ministry, definitely you are losing your job. So where will you get the next job from? But then we've also seen the time of Akinwumi Adesina in the Ministry of Agric, and we saw so much in terms of development in that particular ministry. So for you, don't you think sometimes it's not even the civil servant that are actually the problem? Let us even keep apart the issue of salary, the issue of welfare and the rest of it like that. Don't you think the leadership of the ministry, sometimes they also don't know the vision of that particular ministry? And now you remember that one of the SSAs to the president, I think, is in political, Adizabala, she's putting up a KPI now to actually assess what the ministries are doing, what the departments are doing, what the agencies are doing, for them to be able to evaluate and know their strengths and weaknesses, and then know where to fix somebody else in the future, or know where to move one person from to the other place. So should it be an issue of the civil servant?
You see, the civil servant, just like the legislature, if Nigerians will be happy with federal government, it will be born out of
the civil service
improvement in delivery of work by the civil servants. Now, most people are not blaming civil servants because they underplay or misunderstood the role that the civil service or the civil servant should be playing to a nation. You see, the reason why Nigerians will still complain about traveling, these in transportation, movement of goods and services, provision of certain service facilities, is because of inefficiencies in civil service. Now get it right and let's put this in proper perspective and correct some misconception. Now, the issue of ministry, it is an institution. The appointees will come and go, and that is why we normally have a permanent secretary that when there is transition, the transiting ministers will hand over all the affairs of the ministry to somebody who have gone through cadres to become the permanent secretary. You know, permanent secretaries are not appointed outside the ministry.
Yes.
Permanent secretaries are appointed within the secretaries. Somebody who have galvanized a lot of experiences in that ministry will go through the cadres to become the permanent, who have a better understanding. That is what they call institution. The civil service is an institution. The ministers will come and go. The role of a minister is just profiling and branding. But the work, the minister does not have the right to change the vision, the scope, or the core value of a ministry. That is not their work. And I don't think any ministers will do that. That will lead to what? Fire. It can lead to him being fired.
But we've seen situations where their personal interest override even sometimes national interest.
On political issues.
Yes.
Now, when we talk about political issues, is different. That's why we have ministers, we have PAMSOC, we have boards, we have, you know, it is like a moving train. You cannot derail. When you derail, it will affect the growth and the overall performance of that particular ministry. But the point is this: what we should be talking about. Thank God, Usman Bala, Adisa Usman understood, and the government understood that these ministries are not doing enough. And presently, there is this application they launched last month, trackers, where you can track ministries to see what they are doing and their deliverables and understand, because a lot of Nigerians do not even understand the role of civil servants, and even some ministers, some civil servants do not even understand why they are there. And sometimes when you go to some ministries, you find out that some people will come together in their office, like 4 or 5, and from when they resume work and to when they are going to close from the office, they are just gisting and having fun and gossiping. Is that what they are supposed to be doing? Now, when a purpose of a thing is unknown to a man, abuse become inevitable, and that is what is playing out in our ministries. Personally, why the TUC, NLC is demanding for increment in minimum wage, or as they call it, living wage. The federal government should also, a serious government should also look at the performance of these ministries, the deliverables. Are they living up to their expectation for them to be calling on increment in their salary? I am not in any way against the increment, because a better motivated staff will give it best. And the reasons why we have all this up and down in our ministries, distilling, corruption, you see, it will be hard for you to believe that workers in the ministries earn less than 100,000 naira. It will be hard and difficult to believe if you look at their lifestyle and the kind of luxurious life they live. And
but for me, I don't agree with that, because I've seen in so many ministries, maybe we talk about 1% of people probably maybe in the ministry, or 2%. But we've seen situations, just like you've rightly noted, the minimum wage today, as at the last time, was 30,000 naira. Till this moment, it's 30,000 naira. So how will somebody live life with that? This is what the point is. I know. But what I'm saying is that
there are services I am supposed to get freely from government offices that I'm paying for. There are so many money I pay. I'm not supposed to pay, but I'm paying them because the people who are there, they will make you pay by force. That is what we cannot run away from that. Those are the kind of money we
cannot run away from issues like that in some of these ministries, just like you've stated. But that is one of the major reasons why you also see that we also have civil servants who are also checkmating them, and this civil servant, the ICPC, the EFCC is there. There are institutions within some of these ministries that checkmate SSs.
Sincerely, yes. Are you telling me that these people are really checkmates?
Of course, we've started.
What is the workforce of the EFCC and the ICPC, and how far have they gone in checkmating this civil service? The truth is that they don't have enough workforce. They don't even have the enough manpower to to be able to spread their toes across, to be able to monitor what is happening in the ministry. It is me, you, that sees what is going on the wrong. Almost, if you interview 1,000 Nigerians, 900 Nigerians will tell you about the service from this civil service. That is what we are talking about. And things are not working. Whose responsibility it is to make things work? The civil servant. The leadership or Mr. President, the minister gives a direction. This is where we are going. The people who drives that vehicle to the destination is the civil servants. So if the country is not moving, we shouldn't blame just the president or the minister. We should also look for the people, the people who are saddled with the day-to-day running of these ministries and power sectors. And who are those people? They are the workforce, the civil service.
Let me come to this particular issue. I remember recently the president also, I think this early this year, or probably within the month of March or February, I think the president had to call for a meeting of permanent secretary and I think some top directors who were also there to actually sell his vision to them and tell them he doesn't want anybody to derail from this. How do you see this trickling down the civil service? Just like you've rightly pointed that, look, you need to put your house in order to drive the policies of the government for you to be able to achieve that. But then, with this particular meeting that the president had with this permanent secretary, do you really see that in the nearest future we are going to have change? Just like we've started seeing the work of Hadiza Bala with the issue of tracker and the rest of it like that.
Definitely, if only the government do the needful, what is what? Implementation and monitoring and evaluation from time to time. You see, the point is that when you speak as a president, in the next 1 month, 2 months, people sit up. As human are, you know that human being, one of the most difficult animal to control is the human being. It's easier to control other animals like cow, goats, but human being, when you tell them don't do this, that thing has them not to do is what they have that interest in doing. And that is the case of this civil servant. When the president charged them, you see that the ministry leads to expectation, or when they know that certain agency is coming to monitor, you see everything will be working smoothly. The moment nobody is monitoring or checkmating their work, they go back to their old ways of doing things, and those are the things we need to work on as people. I'm calling on the civil. I'm using this opportunity to call on civil servant that for the development of this country, to grow Nigeria, to make Nigeria the country that we want, the civil servant also have a role. Check yourself. Are you doing the best? Are you contributing in your own little way to the growth and the development of this country through that employment letter that was handed over to you? If you check yourself and you are not doing what you're supposed to do in your ministry, the change actually begins from you. Until you begin to change, I begin to change, everybody's begin to change, Nigeria cannot move forward. Otherwise, we'll just be running around the basket.
So in all this, what role do you think the Labour Congress should play? In all this, what role do you think the Trade Union Congress should play?
The Trade Union Congress, you have a task force. A task force that ensures that they don't give room for any bad egg in their own union. Because at the end of the day, it is the trade union workers, the civil servant that forms their membership. Now, they have control and some level of influence on them. They can influence them positively, and they themselves should ensure that they desist from anything corruption or that can soil their name, that will make the civil servant not to hearken to the cry of a patriotic call from this body. They should make sure that they are good examples to the civil servants and to the trade union workers. That is my advice to these bodies. They should ensure that beyond always fighting, looking like they are fighting, they should see themselves as partner in progress in the development and the building of this nation. And the role they should play as a builder is to understand that they also have a responsibility to deliver the best to the country. By so doing, when the country is smiling, civil servants will smiling. Just like a small office, let's just put it like a small office. When your workers are happy, you see that the company will be growing. When the company is growing, the workers, it is what? Vice versa. You understand? It is vice versa.
So now, the local unions, mostly the trade union, the NSC, and other subnational unions have also, over time, faced various challenges. And I don't know, do you think they've actually, the leadership, because now what we've said is their monitoring strength in terms of how they look at some of their workforce in these ministries, departments, and agencies, irrespective. Now, that is them doing the leadership, doing what they're supposed to do to their members. In this particular situation now, that we face series of issues in this year, last year, increment so far from almost all angles, do you think the labor leaders have actually rose up to the expectations of Nigerian workers?
Why some people will agree that they have lived to expectation by defending the work as the common workers. But let's look at this way. As a country, I am not comfortable. I'm not a labor union leader, but I am also in support that there should be appreciable increments in minimum wage to the Nigerian workers. Why that is on the one side. On the other side, I want the federal government to give ministries, to give parastatals, every employee targets. They should set target for ministries. They should set a short-term vision, long-term vision, goals, that in this ministry, this power, for example, Ministry of Power, you should give them a target that between now and 2027, you want to have this particular amount of improvement in their service and delivery to Nigerians, and make sure that if they actually meet up to the target, you increase their salary. You increase their salary. Come to education sector, give them motivation, and set a target that between now and 2030, I want Nigerian education to scale up to that of the UK, so that people will be coming from Ghana, coming from Sierra Leone, Cameroon to come and study in Nigeria. Give them that target. Federal government should set targets to ministries now. Charge them. It's not a business as usual. You know what? People look less or concern less about the civil servant. But federal government needs to be more serious about understanding how a nation can grow. I'm just speaking holistically now as a nation, that if you want this country to grow, we need to look at another mathematics to how these people work and how they deliver on their deliverable. First, set a target. Number two, motivate them. Number three, make sure that you monitor them and you punish any ministries or parastatals that is not living to expectations. Just invoke some spirit of what happened in the private sector back to the public sector, because the public sector tends to just live as if they are not being paid. They are paid, but yet you see that some of them, they have private offices and they give in their best in their own private companies, but when they go back to the public office or when they are employed by the government, they feel complacent about delivering on why they are there. So if that tradition and culture can change, I tell you this country will be what we always wanted to be.
Okay, with this salary realignment now that we are having, based on what the National Salary Income and Wages Commission slated for us at yesterday, do you really see the private sector also moving towards this direction?
That's why we have the TUC. The TUC talks more about the banks and all these private sectors and all that, while the NLC are directly connected to the government workers, whether in states or in the federal government. Now, what you see yesterday, the announcement you see yesterday is not any way translate into increment in salary. It is just regularization. The other six consortium, under these consolidated structures that have not been carried, 3 years ago, federal government had earlier increased the salary of health workers and tertiary institution workers and all that because of ASU strike and the health workers trying to leave the country. They've done that 3 years ago. Why they left other ministries, other workers of government that were employed at the same time with the whole salary scale. So what they did now is to regularize that everybody working with federal government would not have the same salary structure. That has been invoked 3 years ago. So what they did yesterday was to say that those people that have been robbed or cheated by the federal government so many years ago, now you are now at par with your folks in other ministries. Now what we are saying is that look at the reality out there. The minimum wage, can it sustain anybody? The minimum wage, can it take care of everybody? If you don't want corruption to thrive, criminality to thrive in a country like this, we need to holistically look at the workforce and give a commensurate salary to appreciate and to motivate workers so that we can have a moving society. Otherwise, while you are trying to build some workers that you are paying less because they need to survive too, will be destroyed. You have sabotage, and that is the reason we have increment in crimes and everything, corruption, and people not giving their best in the ministries. So we need to look at it as a country, and we need to look at critically. We need to look into we need to look at the salary and the workforce with an open-minded. We need to be open-minded to approach it truly sincerely as a government. This salary I'm giving this person, is it enough to let this person give its best to this work? Let's ask ourselves critical questions and answer it ourselves before we start engaging with NLC or federal governments.
Okay, now, lastly, just the last one from you. What are your kind of expectation when it comes to the issue of national minimum salary?
It is not about my expectation, it's about the market expectation. What does my allowance, what does it do to my housing? Can I pay house rent? Can I move myself? My transportation, is it taken care of? My health care, is it taken care of? My utility bills, are they taken care of? Now, when I put all those factors into consideration, then I can now come up with something that is workable. So that's why the government needs to do more beyond the salary increment. They need to look at every other sectors of our life and see what intervention can they meet, so that any salary you're giving the worker is enough to make him what? Happy.
Okay, lastly, do you think the government should look into the issue of price regulation?
Very important, very, very important, and that is the essence of having a government. In the event of this kind of situation whereby there is no monitoring, there is no regularity, there is nobody monitoring what is happening, people just give anyhow price in the country. I tell you, sir, this country is just like a banana republic.
God forbid.
God forbid.
We don't pray that.
We don't pray for that. But the only time it will not be like a banana republic is when government move into governance and ensure that they monitor and oversees that people do the right thing. When you allow people to do things the way they want to do, my brother.
Thank you so much, Honorable Olarewaju for B. Desmond who is here this morning praying, and we pray that we don't get to that particular situation. We hope and we pray that also the issue of the fuel queues that we are having at the filling station or fueling station is something that reduces with time, and we pray that yes, there is price stabilization in the country. That way, when you have a minimal increment in your salary, you definitely see the value of it in terms of what you purchase outside, and definitely we want the best for the nation. My name is Isanu. Today we have been discussing the issue of the Nigerian Workers Day, and we hope and we pray that yes, the public and civil servants in the country will be able to do more to better our lives and also follow the direction of the president to see that yes, there's transformation in our structures, that's functional structures that we have in the country. Have a wonderful day and stay blessed. Happy Workers' Day.